What is the deal with this agape meal thing I keep hearing about? I still haven't gotten a handle on that. It's one of these things that was apparently very typical of early Christians and apparently has completely disappeared today,
Yes.
as far as I know. So, what is that? Why don't we have it anymore? What's its relation to the Eucharist, if any? What's going on here?
Well, if you dig into the literature, you'll find a lot of different reconstructions and a lot of different theories about what it was and why it went away. So I'm just going to give you my take on it. If you read 1 Corinthians chapters 10 and 11, you get this sense that the Eucharist was part of a full meal. And it was intended to be a solemn banquet in the style of the Jewish Sabbath meal, or the meals for the holy days, right? Like the Passover Seder. So you get this sense of solemnity there. Now, I don't think that transferred so easily into the Greco-Roman world. I think that the pagans who were newly introduced to the Judeo-Christian tradition, they didn't get it, okay, because they had traditions of banquets where you got drunk, okay, and where you were respected for your social class, and where maybe you ate too much and you really kind of lived it up in a worldly way. There's plenty of evidence in that of that in 1 Corinthians 11. You also get that sense from Romans and Galatians, Paul's letters to the Romans and to the Galatians, that there's trouble at dinner time with Christians. The Jews want to exclude the Gentiles, right? And people are excluding others by social class or ethnic origin or whatever. It's just not a happy time. So I think that gradually the church, without much discussion it seems, just made the conclusion that the solemn banquet wasn't going to work in the Greco-Roman context. That the meal context just should fall away, and we should stick to the elements that we find in the narrative of institution in the Gospels, and those are bread and wine, and that's what we have today. So yeah, I think that the Eucharist, as we see it in St. Paul's letters, was part of a fuller meal, but I think it just didn't work. The pagans didn't get it, and they couldn't make that adjustment.
Wow, that's really interesting. Well, they seem to have the early Christians seem to have a number of interesting traditions and involving meals that I can't remember the details. I remember Peter Brown talking about this refrigerium
Yeah.
thing. Was that involved with the? It was a meal they would go and eat at the tombs of the dead, something like that.
Right, and they would pour wine or sometimes even put food down into a hole that went into the tomb. They're, in a sense, sharing the banquet with their dead. And so what we find is that Saint Monica wondered about this because that was done in North Africa when she lived there,
Right.
and then she moved to Milan, and it wasn't done there. And as a matter of fact, Ambrose kind of frowned on the practice and was discouraging it locally. So she gets the advice, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. When in Milan, she didn't practice those things that she had practiced in North Africa. So yeah, this was something that was done. It was a
Was it a
custom that kind of fell away.
syncretistic thing, or was it a genuinely like they weren't actually trying to feed their dead relatives? It wasn't like an ancestor worship thing or something
No,
like that.
I think it was considered to be symbolic. That we're sharing this meal with someone we know to be spiritually present. Okay, acknowledging the immortality of the soul. I don't think most people believed that they were actually sharing food and wine with their dead. It was a holdover from earlier Greco-Roman religion. That's for sure. It was done earlier, and I don't know what those people believed, whether they believed they were actually refreshing the dead or not.